All right, welcome to a new edition of Reading the EULA Right. And I'm going to have to correct myself and be careful in the future because now they don't have entity. They've got identity twice, but they don't have any mention of entity anymore. They have you 328 or 188 times, but they don't have entity. They, yeah, they like macro. Nope, they've got macro once, in the same order, in the same sentence as they mention keystrokes, as in keyboard. And people get scared always that, oh my god, my macro keyboard is going to get me banned. Bullshit. I've discovered that hotkeys in game work way better than macros. I used to have a macro keyboard, and I'd hit macro 6 down on the bottom there, right next to control, on the left side of my keyboard, to make myself stop. And this is the irony of the whole thing, because I was worried about getting banned for using a macro to hit one key when control space is the default, right? But and here's the irony. I can go into their in-game hotkey section and change a 2-button command to 1 button. Isn't that violating their keystroke, like other stored rapid keystrokes that facilitate at an accelerated rate? Because if I press 1 button for 2 in game, aren't I breaking the EULA? Using their own, it is accelerated, right? But and this is the stupid thing about legal definitions versus what they like. I think a lawyer originally helped them word this EULA, but then they just started dicking with the words just to be douchebags. Because look at the definition of entity. They removed entity and just used you. But it's like, okay, how are you going to prove it's you? It's an entity. You have agreed to the account EULA pretty much on one computer, basically. I mean, currently I don't have the same clients on different computers. It's just for practical reasons. Well, actually, I do. I've got alpha accounts on a backup computer and a backup laptop, and I switch. I have 2 clients of those on the laptop and the backup computer. So in that sense, I can. Anyways, whatever. I know, it just gets stupid. It's like, how are you going to prove you is you? How are they going to prove I am I, right? At the computer. What are they, omniscient? So it's legally, it's just retarded. But they did it because people like me, probably, I bet you they did it, because people like me were like, okay, it's on YouTube saying, okay, just deal with my alpha on my other entity. And I do that because it was an easy way of avoiding trolls. I didn't give a shit about CCP because I know CCP doesn't give a shit about me, because they know eventually people who run alphas eventually turn them into Omegas. It's just, it might be a glacial pace at some point, but it's gonna happen. It's inevitable, and they know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Unless I'm freaking autistic freak who's running, who went down and dumpster dived and got a whole bunch of laptops, or used his parents' credit card to buy a whole bunch of laptops, and are running alphas on every single one of them. It's possible. I mean, I could possibly run fobs, pirate strongholds, using alphas in Geddons or Dominix's. I could maybe do it. I don't think I could use MJDs, and that would be annoying. And it would be really annoying. It'd be really annoying, but I could do it, maybe? But yeah, I mean, I'm not. I've got 6 Omegas, and I usually run 2 alphas, one on my backup computer and one on my laptop. And I used to say, oh, entities, and now I can't because they've just removed it. So using the word entity will mean pretty much freaking nothing. Now I'm just going to, all right. So my backup computer or my laptop, and I won't use entity because it's not in the EULA. So I just do that. I just did that for trolls, because as soon as you deal with YouTube, you deal with trolls because it's just an open format. They can just say whatever. Oh, you're too loud. I can't hear you, because they've got their sound volume down on their computer. It's like sometimes, like 10% of the time, it's valid, and that's why you pay attention to it. But 90% of the time, it's just total bullshit. And it's trolls. It's like, it's low graphics or low sound. It's basically, you do this to protect yourself against trolls. So you go, hey, or at least, respond to them. But it's like, yeah, you've pretty much covered yourself for most of the easy trolls that they'll go for. If they sense an opening, they'll go for it. But if you close that opening, they won't. So unfortunately, CCP removed the one protection I had against trolls. So I don't give a shit. It's like, oh, you're in danger of losing all your accounts to being banned. It's like, for what? For breaking the EULA? How am I breaking the EULA? It's like, okay, so basically, let's boil it down to what CCP intends. CCP knows that people will eventually turn their alphas that they use a lot into Omegas. It's just a fact of life. Or they just quit the game. One of the two, right? I'm sure there are a few who have used alphas all the time, but that's probably a very small minority, right? They care only about one thing. Oh, and by the way, sharing accounts. Right. You may not share your account or passwords with anybody. You're not going to get banned for sharing an account. What they're going to do, it's all about protecting your arse and getting out of helping people. Look, if you willingly share your account or admit to it, and they find out about it, they don't have to provide support if somebody screws with you, or your account gets hacked or stolen, or kid brother or whatever. The old Blizzard joke about we don't respond to kid brother stealing your or blowing up your account or something like that. It's like, we don't have to provide support. And that's their way of saying, if you share your account, you just voided your warranty, basically. And that's all it is, voiding your warranty. How best to sum it up? it. Where is it? Where is it? Give me a sec here. It is right here. It is. I always think reasonable because that's legal jargon. Accelerated is not. Basically, it all boils down to anything you do. Am I exploiting the system to a degree that a judge would look at it as a reasonable person could not do the same thing? Like, I'm running Evo Preview. It's not a, it's IS Boxer has the potential to be a input broadcasting, and you're an idiot for running it. Just hands down, you're an idiot for running it. You're just one step away from being banned for input broadcasting. He's like, I never used bullshit. You're one step away. Just think about it. I use Evo Preview, and that doesn't have input broadcasting potential. But the point is, they look at it, is it reasonable for 6 individual players to have the same kind of gameplay, ordinary, as the person running Evo Preview? And the answer is absolutely yes. Probably more efficient to have 6 players run it than one person trying to juggle it all. They could be really good at the game, but if you've got the same skill set and experience, there's no way I could replicate 6 players individually controlling at my skill level and experience, right? So that's how you look at it. It's a legal document. Look at it legally. Don't look at it like a scared person looking at, like, it's like looking for symptoms on the internet. You're going to have every disease known to man, right? Or disorder or whatever. Self-diagnosing, this document is not used for self-diagnose. It's for them to protect their arse. It's completely it. It's just a legal document for reasonable actions. Is it reasonable for a person to run 6 accounts on one computer? What's the definition of reasonable? There's no, like, what would a reasonable, like, could a reasonable person run 6 clients? I think physically, if I could run more than 6 clients on a computer, it would be inefficient, but it's not unreasonable to expect somebody can, and people have. I mean, you just look at the setup some people have for Warhammer. I mean, not Warhammer, but Blizzard's WoW game, right? There's some infamous pictures of practical autists just having. We're not even sure if it's reasonable to expect that somebody is capable of running all those clients at once. It's a bit crazy, but it's not unreasonable to expect, right? You've got to realize that, yeah, it just boils down to, you cannot use this to self-diagnose yourself. Am I breaking the EULA? Because if you read it, you're probably breaking the EULA right now. Like, how many of us have keyboards with macros? How many of us have separate macro keyboards? They don't. Like, how is CCP going to even find out, right? How they find out is if you are unreasonably making way more stuff than the ordinary player doing that action. You know, that's how they probably get suspicious. But I think they don't care unless it's like jumping out at them, and even then, yeah, the cynics among us say they don't give a damn about RMT. They just want to make it look good. I just get so angry at CCP for just playing games with the wording of the EULA. You're not helping anybody by by playing tiddlywinks with your EULA when you make it like people who know the legal system. It just makes a laughing stock. They're making themselves a laughing stock when they start dicking around with the U. I mean, they've probably substitute entity with you so many times in this document. They're like, lol. It's like, really? So you have total omniscience about who's using. It's just, I think it was done just because people like me were just using the word entity. And they were like, oh, we're just change the word to you there. And it's like, you can't prove anything. The only way you can prove it is if people like me are saying, yeah, I'll just go over to my alpha account on the other entity and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you can't do that. It's like, but you know I'm eventually going to turn it into Omega. But it's like, you have to use blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't know. It's like I know I'm skirting on the edges of breaking the EULA for using, because, you know, when they say, when it was originally worded with entity, it was pretty clear. It's like, you're not allowed to use multiple clients unless they're all Omega. That was pretty clear. But the thing is, how are they going to prove it? And if you're, like, even, I cannot claim, oh, I'm running 6 clients that are Omega. I can run a couple of alphas. And what I used to do was I would use the alphas as scouts, just eyes, and they wouldn't help me in any way, shape, or form. And then I just was like, Jesus Christ, why the hell not? So I started using one of my alphas as to take out the Krurs using Tech 1 Thrasher. And then I started to use the other alpha as pointing down and tackling the battleships at the pirate stronghold. But you would only do that. I'd only bother doing that if I wanted to have fun. If I wanted to crunch, like, with other players. If I was playing with other players, I would use that second alpha to tackle a battleship for them to have fun with, but it didn't give any bounty. So there's no, and the amount of bounty you get for killing the rats on the site is minuscule compared to moving to the next one, to the next pirate stronghold and dealing with that. So the only way I'd ever want to use the alphas on my account, on the other entities, I'm still going to use the word entities, on the other entities, is to is for either convenience or entertainment. It's not for getting me more ISK, because if I use them, I literally slow down my ISK production. So it's, in that sense, it's hilarious that it would be hilarious if I got banned for that, because I slow my ISK generation down literally. But I'm sure, like, when you take it to extremes, you could definitely, like, could you use ganking ships? Yeah, you could probably use, like, you could probably run a whole bunch of ganking catalysts and gank people in Udema or, you know, whatever, and probably, like, see that this is a stupid thing. It's like, if you gank that many, couldn't you just fund Omegas? I mean, I'm sure those people profit a hell of a lot. I mean, people are stupid. They could probably profit, like, insanely. We know the gankers profit insanely. We know they don't. They could easily flex their accounts doing that, you know? It just seems so funny. Like, how many instances, like, okay, so a whole bunch of alpha gankers, but just make them Omega. You can plex it. Why, like, why the hell not? You know? And any instance you could think of that would have a player using 1 billion laptops to play the game using alpha, in each of those instances, you could, well, I'm sure if you were just, yeah, but there's this, like, I can't think of any way that you could exploit alpha accounts on, you know, on individual entities and not be in a position to go, well, I can just plex the account, I'm making so much. I mean, why would you? I mean, you could go in ventures, and but it's like, how inefficient is that? I mean, me juggling 6 clients, I know that any more than 6 clients is inefficient, simply by the fact of you're a single human being, you're not a supercomputer, you can't control all these at once, so you're gonna have to, it's just, I know if I move, like, I've seen people try to use 8 accounts and they're assholes. I mean, I've noticed anybody running more than 6 accounts is an asshole just because of the way they're forced to play the game. They're having to cut so many corners that sociability just goes by the wayside, I suppose. That's what I've noticed. And for myself, I don't think I'd be able to run more than, like, I could probably, if my, see, here's the thing. I know that eventually, see, it's not a factor of, let's cut out all the bullshit of the EULA and boil it down to the spirit of it. The maximum I can run on this entity, my main computer, my main entity, the maximum I can run physically and still have it efficient. Like, beyond 6, it becomes inefficient, right? But my backup computer used to be able to run 6 clients, but it's starting to, like, choke. That's why I got a new computer. It's getting old. But I bet I could run 2 clients safely on my backup computer. That would entail me running 2 megas. Now, I could do it. It would cost me, like, I could probably do it easily. Like, I've got 1.6 cost me 8, probably another 2 billion. So I'm currently costing myself having to input 8 billion ISK in order to fund that. My skill farming is currently only subsidizing 50%, 40 to 60%. I suck at math of my in-game plexing costs, right? So I need, it costs currently, last time I checked, 14 billion total to plex all my 6 accounts. And loose, whatever, it boils down to 8 billion for me to input, literally, to get the skill farming over that hump to get all 3,000 plex, right? So I could, it would cost me, it would cost me 4,000 plex, right? 1, 2, right? I think so, yeah. So I'd need another 1,000 plex. That's, so that would be, oh, I don't know, yeah, 2 billion more, right? So I need 10 billion. So I've got 12 billion right now. And you got to think, it's like, that's a lot of biskies. Could I do it? Yeah, totally. I could totally make these 2 accounts Omega, or these 2 accounts. I could probably, like, and you got to think about it. It's like, okay, I am using what would I use? I'd probably amalgamate the backup computer and laptop into just the backup computer, running those 2. Would I run another one? Like, what would I do with it? It's like, we have Udama Scout, so I sponsor that one. One of the gates. I wouldn't sponsor another gate, but what would I use it for? Like, I'm in perma war with a griefing entity alliance in Eve, so I could use it as a gunner and just sit there and monitor the situation. I mean, ideally, in an ideal world, I'd have those 2 alphas I've talked about before go Omega, so I'd be needing 10 billion per month just to fund all 8 accounts in Omega status. And then I could use the backup. Like, ideally, I'd have 2 laptops instead of 1. I'd have 2 laptops, and I would have eyes on one entrance to my area and the other one as the eyes to the other entrance to my area. That would be ideal. So I could just monitor traffic. It's like, oh, what's going on in my area? Who's entering and leaving my area? You know, quote unquote, my area. The place I call home at the moment. That would be the ideal. And that could easily happen. That could happen so easily. You know? It just, one day I decided to do it, and it just starts happening. That's how people, like, I think this account originally, was it Omega always? I don't know. Like, I do know at least 2 of my accounts started off alpha, and then was just, I think it was, this Major Domo was alpha, and it just naturally became Omega, just because I got a better computer. I could run more clients. I could say, okay, I could probably juggle 1 more client on this computer, this entity. All right, Omega. And it just happened, right? When I was playing 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, no, wait, in 2008, I finally got, like, I used to be able to sneak into low sec unscouted, but I needed to scout eventually. and I think it was a backup computer that I was running that Scout on. And it was pretty sure it was alpha. And then eventually I realized that I could run, tried running on the same computer. And that's when I started going, hey, I could use 2 miners and a booster and then a hauler. So I'd have 4. And then I had slowly over time, the hauler would turn into a miner, and then I would go to my newest character and turn that into a hauler, and it would slowly grow that way until I had 4. And at that point it was like, okay, 4, it's just a law of diminishing returns, right? Just like module, if you run more than 6 omegas on one account, I believe it's totally inefficient once you go past that. I just believe it's totally, you start getting the inefficiencies just start to build up. And I'm sure there are some people who can run more than that, but you start to wonder input broadcasting. Just natural to start thinking that. It's like, how are they controlling that many characters? And you see the screens of people doing it, and they have like, their clients are like cascaded really tightly, and you're like, you can't physically control that many that quickly, It's like, you've got to be input broadcasting. But of course, nobody ever confesses to that. And how the hell is CCP gonna? We know there are people flagrantly getting away with it on Singularity, on this test server. We know that they're doing it flagrantly, and CCP is like, we don't support blah 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 blah. We don't care. And we know it's being done. And I don't think CCP even cares to monitor it to find out how to track these people better. I just don't think they care at all. Yeah. But yeah, it just boils down to reasonable. If you're doing something like using a macro key to do something, which I counsel you just to change the hotkey settings in game. If you're doing something with a macro key, you could probably easily change the macro keys in game to something like, do you use your number pad keys at all? If you're using a macro key, why don't you turn your number pad key into, say, the broadcast hotkeys? That's what I've done. I don't use insert because it's a bit annoying, but I use home and end and page up and page down as more. I've changed a few other things, but yeah, mostly it boils down to in-game hotkeys. And if you switch it properly and you know what you're doing. Like I made the shift key for the mid slots and the control key for the low slots, and you'll notice the defaults in game are reversed, which is retarded because mid is above low, so why wouldn't you have shift be mid? Because it's above control, which should be low. It seriously doesn't make any effing sense. It's like, really? Yeah. But what I'm curious about, give me a sec. Here's what I think it's just clicking, but if you hit the hotkey, it won't be, because shift is the default for overheat, right? So if I shift click it'll turn on overheat, right? But I'm pretty sure, oh, I don't have any mid slots for, let's try this out. So I go shift, and it just says activating. What if I do, if I go control, and that'll be activating my lowers, right? But it's not saying thermodynamics, right? So I believe shift plus click is to activate your overheat, but shift and the F function keys are to activate the keys. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to check, because like, yeah, so shift function key is to turn on, activate the module. Shift click, left click, is to do the overheat. Anyway, so yeah, that kind of stuff. It's like a more intelligent use of the hotkeys can improve your game endlessly. Like I used to have one hotkey to turn on all my Lashak's low slot hardeners, right? But I literally don't need wait a minute. That brings me to another thing. It's like, why am I using hardeners? My my passive compensation skills are so high. I could probably run in the energized membranes for that and do much better passively. Why am I doing that? Anyways, so yeah, yeah. It's basically, is it reasonable to assume that eventually I'll be running alphas with my omegas with my alphas? Yeah, it's the more you use them, the more you're tempted. The more you're tempted, it's inevitable. And like I said, it's just at some point I'll be like, yeah, I can totally afford that, even plexing. And once I'd like to pay for the game again because it's less grindy. You know, I can enjoy myself more. I like that 10 billion could be used to buy a freaking jump freighter, for Christ's sake. You know, so I do not need to. And I'd probably go with a 3-month MCT deal at 50% off. You know, the Omega and MCT for 3 months. And now, like back when I did it a year ago more, when I was doing that skill farming on the second account, I could fund I could fund every month another month of subscription using plexing, right? So I could extend my 3-month to 6 months easily, but now it's merely subsidizing that. So I still have to grind in order to extend. I suck at math, but if you're better at math than me, you'd understand what I'm trying to say. Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, I mean, once I start paying for my subscription again, I can get back to training my skills, which it's kind of a pain trying to slowly, glacially increase my skills by, like, check this out, the history. Like, yeah, I still haven't gotten, wow. I still haven't gotten Electronic Attack Ships 5 yet, and I've been going at it for quite a while, or like saving up for quite a while. No matter frigate, I got that to level 5, but look, I mean, it only goes back, well, wait a minute, it should go back further. Give me a sec. I can only, how do I think it has to be an active skill queue to actually make it populate this thing better. How do I do that? Give me a sec. One quick sec. All right, pause. Do. Right here. All right. Switch it here. All right. Bring this up there. Now it populates. And yeah, min matter frigate. When's the last time? Yeah, look at that. Lol. So a year ago. Wow. Wow. Has it really been a year? And I've only gotten 2 skills completed. Really? Possibly. Maybe that's... I forget 4. Okay, maybe... Alright, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe that's... I had a brief moment, a few days of actual training that I was able to do that. Possible. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Sorry. My bad. Yeah, so the skill points applied could mean the next level. It doesn't actually asterisk that, right? So yeah, the last time I actually used my skill queue to actually unpause it and actually do something was there and a year ago. Yeah, it's pretty glacial. I mean, that's a whole year, and that's crazy because normally that's not, right? So, wow. Yeah, it would be nice to start training skills on this character again. So, yeah. And yeah, I mean, I'm at an age of my characters where I really didn't have to train skills on my characters to get by. Yeah. Anyways, pause that. Back. Yeah, basically 3 months, and then I'd use it to subsidize and get a bit more. So it wouldn't be... It's becoming less and less efficient to skill farm in order to flex your count, because it's just getting... There's no... The profit margin has disappeared. Back when I started this, it was break even. A bit before, and thanks to commenters on my YouTube, I realized that it was profitable. Amazingly so. So, yeah. But yeah, I would it, like, to me, being able to spend, like, how much is it for an account for a year? You know, hundreds of dollars. It's like, I don't have that kind of cash, like 6 times 200 plus is like at least 1200. Gotta be kidding me. You know, that's 100 a month. That's like, oh, this is literally a cigarette addiction, isn't it? You know, this is yeah. So anyways, sorry, let's go on. But yeah, I mean, this is literally a cigarette addiction, isn't it? But it keeps me out of trouble. And you think about it, $100 a month is, you know, paid for slowly, not in a huge lump sum. Ugh. Suppose I could just save up and do it that way. Oh. Yeah. Good luck on the wife not spending it. Like, I'm poor. It would be nice to have a middle-class career that I could afford that. You know, I mean, I could justify it easily. I mean, you save up and you do it. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's an interesting game, and just try to ignore the EULA. It's how can I put it? As long as you're not actively attempting to, like, I'm sure people do it. I'm sure there's a way to run multiple alphas on a single computer, probably using some VPN or some weird virtual desktop or something like that, right? I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure people are doing it. I'm sure people are breaking the EULA in flagrant manner too. We know people are input broadcasting. We know there's RMTers. We know there's botters out there. That's who CCP is focused on, because those people want to make as much, like, to me, I just want to have fun. Those people just want to make ISK, because ISK turns into RMT, turns into profit for them, right? Like hard cold cash. And it's ironic, like highly ironic, that in the beginning, they say accounts may not be used for business purposes. And just look at Hilmar's mealy-mouthed walking backwards into NFTs are good at FanFest. Are they going to magically change this? You know? It's intended for your personal entertainment, enjoyment, and recreation, and not for corporate, business, commercial, or income-seeking activities. And what is the NFT talking points for gamers? Pay to earn. Play to earn? Is it play to earn? Yes, play to earn. That was CCP's literal talking point. And what were they going to do? Just ignore their own EULA? Maybe they were going to say, oh, play to earn is not business purposes. It's you're playing, so entertainment. Yeah, and I'm sure they would have reworded this using NFT crypto talking points to the moon, you know, because that's what they're doing. They're just rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic. But anyways, yeah, it's funny, this shit they pull. But yeah, no more talk of entities, unfortunately. I can't use that to get away from trolls trolling me. I'm sure now that I'll stop using the word entity and mentioning the EULA, if I ever mention my alpha accounts on YouTube again, which I probably will, you know, it's kind of hard not to realize what I'm doing if you put two and two together. The trolls will start to appear again, because they just stopped. Once I used EULA and Entity, they just stopped trolling me. But I can guarantee you, as soon as I stop using those words, I'm gonna get the trolls and the filters. And of course I filter everything 100%. All the comments in my YouTube are always filtered, because 90% of it is just trolls. So, oh well, what can you do, right? It was nice that CCP allowed me to protect myself from trolls by using those words, but now I can't, because it would confuse. I can't. I mean, in all good conscience, I can't use those terms anymore, because it would just confuse people. And I could potentially still use it. I mean, think about it. I'm still using their old terms, and why can't I, to protect myself from trolls? And I think that's what I'll do. But yeah, no, in all good conscience I can't, because it would lead people to assume it's literally still in the EULA, and it's not anymore. I'm just glad I've got filters. I can control the comments on my YouTube, because it just reminds me of Reddit. And I've never had an account there, never will, as I always say. And the worst of the forums, you know. It's like, I'd rather like a protected community that I can upload informative stuff to my YouTube channel. And I don't think I'll ever break 1,000 subscribers, just because, you know, I mean, maybe like it's been what, God, 2.5 years now? Yeah, 2.5 years since I started getting viewers beyond one a month, right? And the subscriber base is growing, if you average it out, 300 a year. So maybe in 4 years I'll break 1,000, but it'll never take off, because I literally don't do any of the viral things you do, like giveaways, any giveaways, charity, if you lampoon something, if it's a prank, drama, and especially reaction videos. I don't have a green screen. You know, I don't do Twitch. You know, my playstyle isn't conducive to Twitch. It just isn't. You know, mainly because I have a wife, and I don't have a games room or you know, a man cave. I don't have the ability to soundproof it. So yeah, I'll never do Twitch, and I'll never be popular, and I'm happy with that, because basically my channel started out as a backup disk drive for me, to store stuff I found out about the game that was true, or at least I tried my best to talk about facts and correct myself when I'm wrong. And this is probably a correction video. But yeah, I mean, when it boils down to it, as long as you're not flagrantly breaking the spirit of the game and exploiting it beyond all reasonable means, CCP is just interested in covering its own ass. You can't share accounts because it voids your warranty. Don't do anything unreasonable, and basically, we expect you to eventually Omega all your Alpha accounts over time. It's just the way of it. I mean, that's how I grew that's how I got to 6 Omegas so far. And I could probably afford 2 more Omegas if I wanted to Plex. And eventually, now I've got more solid income after, God, a year. COVID sucks. It really does. Anyway, sorry. That I'll be able to actually start enjoying the game without having to grind so much. But I'll probably have to if I want to subsidize it using the MCT. So it's still going to be the grind. I just get to train on my main character. Okay, so yeah, it's not going to be the way it was a year ago. I'll have to grind. Yeah, that kind of sucks, but I get to train on my main characters. So I'll try it out once they release that 50% off deal again. I'll try it out for a single instance and try to figure if it's worth it to keep training. Have a free training slot that I can actually train my mains up again. And I'll have 3 months to figure out if it's worth it, if I really want to do that again. If it's worth, at that point I'll probably look at the game and go, is it worth playing at all? Do I get enough enjoyment out of it? Because I'm not mining. CCP has just, I didn't mind their removing the ABCs in HiSec. I didn't mind them nerfing Oracles and Orcas mining drone bullshit. And I always thought those were stupid. But they've nerfed so much, or they've changed so much, but hobbled small gang mining so much that for me, it's not fun. They've removed the ability for me to do a reasonable job of protecting myself against the griefers. Well, I wouldn't call griefers because I love to go to low sec and I don't consider people there griefers at all. They're just PvPers. Because there are no griefers and there are no care bears in low sec, because those people want 0 risk and maximum reward, right? If you want that, if you want to be a null bear, go for it. But yeah, sorry, digression. Would it be worth it? For me, it's not CCP looks at people plexing their accounts not as cheaters or playing for free because somebody had to buy Plex off their website, right? Or RMT. But yeah, there are players who've gotten trillions in RMT-esque and have never been caught and are powerhouses in EVE. And they probably bought that RMT over a decade ago, NCP has never been able to catch them, and they've profited off of it. And you're like, I've never done that, but here I am worrying that those idiots are going to ban me because I'm running alpha counts on different entities. And they've changed the EULA that I'm no longer feeling safe about running alpha. I can only trust. They don't give a shit because they know I'll eventually turn them Omega, right? It's just inevitable. Yeah, it is funny that way, isn't it? Just and their flagrant ignorance of input broadcasting happening on Sissy, you know. It's just the hypocrisy is so, when it boils, when you boil it down, they're only interested in cover their own ass and making sure they get the maximum profit. That's all. So if you look at it in that way, macro keyboards for, you know, input that's not broadcasted and not a program, like it's the old Ultima Online version of macro. And I think that's what the EULA means, the old version of macros, you know, that level your character up without you having to be at keys. And it's funny thinking about that, because at keys, code and all those griefers in ISEC would constantly used to constantly gag anybody autopiloting in shuttles or anything, and they go, the EULA is against at keys, you have to be at keys, you can't be autopiloting, autopiloting is blah 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 blah. And eventually they stopped doing it, and I think it's because CCP reworded the EULA or the TOS or whatever, you know. Just for that. Anyways, but that's another story. Anyways, sorry to bore you guys. So yeah, I think I plumbed everything. Yeah, for me it's like awkward, and it's good that I reread the EULA at regular intervals, like what, every 2 years, to just keep up on how they're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Yeah, man, that 20K threshold is slowly approaching. Yeah, meh. I'll just go to another game. It's like EdTV or the Truman Show. Just change a channel. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Anyways, goodbye. Thanks for watching.